All right, so in this next section about navigation, you could probably say that this might be like the defining feature of HTML. The fact that you can click on something and then it will take you to the next page. Okay. Now, typically, what you're going to notice, I mean, there's always exceptions, but most of the time what you're going to notice is that people, if you were to look at sites, if you were to break them up and actually see the HTML and the CSS code, you're going to see that all of them, what they normally do is they actually make an unordered list of links. Okay, so even if you were to look at this one, which is obviously mine, so let me do web developer inspector. What you're going to notice is if you go to the very top, see if I can find it, footer, where's the header? Container fluid, open up, header, okay, let's open that up. Yeah, get over here. Open, look at header navbar, open that up. I got that inside of this. Let's open that up. God, there's a lot of pieces to this. Okay, so if you look, see it says unordered list, ID, menu, navbar. And then if I open that up, you're going to see list item, boom, boom, boom. So custom menu item, blah, 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 page, current page. But basically all of the nav elements up here, scroll up here, you'll see they're all part of an unordered list. Okay, so even my site, pretty much every site you're going to see is going to have it as an unordered list. So that's typically how we make that. Okay, so we'll just do it at the end of this. So instead of doing it like this is not like a clean way of doing it because it's not very well organized. There's no association between this link and another link. You're actually a lot better off doing something like this. So we would do, let's say, an unordered list, okay, like so. Then we would do a list item, okay, inside of there. Let me just tab that in. And then inside of that list item, you would make a hyperlink. And I'm just going to go like page 01, we'll say. And I'm not going to link it to anything. And we'll hit OK. So you can see it says page 01. And then I would just take that. I'm just going to copy it, Control C or Command C, Control V, and Control V. And we'll just do 3. Okay, so you get the idea. 2 and 3. So this is typically what you're going to see. This is actually how normally you would do a nav bar, okay, so your navigation. Now you're gonna notice this doesn't look real good. We obviously don't want these bullets. We don't want them stacked probably like this. Most of the time people have horizontal nav bars. If we want vertical ones, we could leave some aspect of that, but that's probably not what we want. So what you'd want to do instead is if you want to do a top horizontal bar, you would apply basically this formatting here. Okay, so the advantage is that typically people are always going to look at the top for the horizontal bar. It's common, it's well organized, people understand it, it works on most devices. The only disadvantage to it is that generally speaking there's not, it's kind of limited. You can only do so many across, okay? If you did verticals, you could see like I could make a whole long list and scroll down if I want to do a vertical bar. But horizontal, it only goes this far across. And even if you were to look at my site, let's just go, okay. Okay, you'll see I have these here, but you see like there's no, like I can only have so many. So if I go to like, let's say web design, the way I solve it is I have sub pages, you know, and then you click on them through here. So you click that, and then you see this here, and I can click to this one, and then I get back to this list. But you can see it's a lot easier in a vertical nav bar to do a list, like a list. Horizontal, it's harder to stuff so many things in there. So that's one of the disadvantages. So I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna copy this just so you can see. So I'm gonna take this, Control C, and I'm just gonna inside of up here after that one, I'll just hit Control V, and then you'll see it will format it to be a horizontal bar. So some points about it, just so you get the idea, is that on the unordered list, we make the position relative. I made it 0 to the top, which just means it's going to stick to the very top. The list style type, we do none. What that's going to do is it's going to remove the bullets. Margin, I put 0, and padding, I put 0. So I remove any space in between that's around this, okay? List item, I make it display inline. So what that's going to do is that if you look, for each list item, it starts on a new line. It's a block level. I convert it to inline instead. Again, I take the margin and the padding off. Now, on both the A link and A visited, whether I clicked on it or not, I just basically do the majority of the actual formatting here. So like, I made it bold, and I changed the color to white, and I made the background color gray, and I made each one the same width so that they're consistent. So I just did 120 pixels. I just made the text inside of each one centered. The margin is 0, but I put 4 for padding to have a little bit of space in between each. And text decoration, I put none. That removes the underline, which these should have had underline. I must have my other formatting applied to this, but generally speaking, let me see, does this one have? Oh, because I took it off here. If I take this off, if I take this off, see, they'll have their underlines again. Okay, so that is what that formatting is. Okay, so horizontal bar, that's the one I generally suggest doing first and foremost. It's just the most common. There's the vertical one. Kind of the same thing here, position relative, all this stuff where you're gonna just take off a bunch. But the big difference here is I don't bother converting it to an inline. I leave that alone, but I still remove the underlines, and I still remove the bullet, the list style type here on the unordered list. Okay. There's other formats as well. So in this case, you can see I have an example of what we call breadcrumb. So some sites, what they'll have, typically you'll see these in sites that use like PHP, and they're more involved because these will be auto-generated. But it's a breadcrumb because what it does is that you can go back to where you started. So like, let's say I'm on page 3, I can click on this to go back to page 2 and then back to page 01. It's only really good if you're trying to lead one way or the other. Typically, you aren't going to see it used all that often. I actually do use it in mine because if I click here, you'll see right at the top, this is a breadcrumb. So like, this is the page I'm on, but if I click on this, it goes back one page. But I don't have it set up so that like, it doesn't have like a thing to go to like the next page. That might be useful. I don't know. I didn't even really think about doing that. But that's typically a breadcrumb. Another one that you might see, this isn't actually a very good example because I just kind of manually did it. But basically tags, where they'll have like these little, sometimes they'll be different sizes and stuff, like dependent upon like importance and things like that to try and show intrigue. But it's like a jumbled bit of links. It works well if you're trying to draw people to like the more popular items, especially if you have a bunch of different people making content and, you're trying to reward them for having more content, for being more popular, and so on and so forth. But it doesn't work as a primary navigation. Nobody wants to do it that way. Search. So you type in stuff and you hit search and then it will, oh crap. I wasn't expecting that. Whoops. I didn't think that actually did anything. All right. Well, I wrote that in there. I just didn't. Okay. Anyway, so you type in a search bar and then it will search. That one's great, but you can't. For one, it's not a primary mode of navigation. I know that a lot of us, like if you're on a Mac, there's that little magnifying glass. Like if you're trying to get to an app real quick, you just click it there. You saw me earlier. I wanted Dreamweaver, so I just started typing in Dreamweaver. I used to go through, programs and stuff. I just do it all through search. People don't do that with websites typically, because they're not really set up the same way. So it's a nice little added bonus, but I don't expect you to have it in any of your sites, because this is actually more of a developer's thing, because you have to have like a search engine go through it. I'm not even honestly 100% sure how to set that up, but yeah. There's the flyouts or drop downs. This again takes a bit of, this gets into more developer stuff. Later on when we learn Bootstrap, we'll know how to do it. But basically the idea is that you can click a drop down. So this works really nice. So if you want to have sub pages underneath, and I used to use that as my main navigation up here. The problem I had is that when I clicked on it, the list went really far down, and sometimes they would actually go over top of the other ones, and it just made it difficult to navigate. It actually made it harder. It was just easier to just generally go to one of these classes. I know it's another click, but even when you do a drop down, it's click and then click. So it's not any different to click here and then click the link down here. It's a little bit longer, but it's not adding that much time. So that's a drop down. I like these. These are good for like certain things if you're trying to put in more information. And it can clean up a site if there's a lot of pages. Last one's a footer. It's the same idea as a header that you would have on the top horizontal bar. Basically, again, it's not for main navigation. It's usually like extra stuff If you look on the bottom, mine, it's kind of messed up right now because you see I got this. I gotta fix that. But this is my footer. This goes on every single one of my sub pages, so you can see the social media, which these are broken right now. If I click on them, I don't have any social media, so it doesn't go anywhere. I just made it like that. But this is basically the footer. So it's good for like extra stuff. I mean, you've seen other sites and you probably know what's down there. That's typically what we see. Now again, with both the footer or the top horizontal nav bar, you could go ahead and do position and do fixed and have it like that's like a sticky header or a sticky footer. So no matter what, it always goes with you. That can be kind of useful for some things. Although just be wary because that could also make people angry. Yeah, but it's more or less kind of the same as the horizontal, but it's meant as a secondary, not as a primary. Okay. And the last thing to do is to talk about the assignment.